Can you hear me now? That's a commercial, right? Just going to get ready for a minute. I grew up a Baptist. Was a Baptist minister for 31 years. And as some of you know, last night I was, as I shared some of my story, I was diagnosed with cancer, prostate cancer, 3 years ago. And sometimes it takes a crisis as a wake-up call. Would you agree with that? You know, all of a sudden you have to hit a wall. I shared with you a story about Noel and Bev Facey, friends of mine, who had gone on this change of lifestyle, and I was happy for them as I ate my steak and my pizza. And we'd invite them over to our house, and they'd bring their own food, right? And they thanked us very much, but they didn't touch anything we ate. But that was okay. I was happy with how I was living. But when I hit the wall, everything changed. But like I said, it usually takes a crisis in our life to kind of shake us up. And I also know that sometimes it doesn't make any difference what kind of crisis we have. As we closed our meeting last night, there was Dr. Lawrence Power, I believe it was, said, it is amazing how many people, given the situations of their health, heart disease, diabetes, are unwilling to change their life to turn it around. They simply accept heart disease, diabetes, and all the other types of degenerative diseases. And I don't know if that's because we've bought into just the medical model. I do want to say that it's really important that you continue to connect with your doctor. I'm not telling you to give up on doctors. I see my doctor on a yearly basis now, but there are alternatives out there. A few weeks ago, I was attending a conference, and I heard a gentleman talk about having heart surgery, and he had, in one surgery, he had 8 bypasses. Yeah, wow. Whoa. Anyway, I can't remember if it was 4 o'clock in the morning or 11 o'clock at night. I was in the washroom, and he was there. And so I started chatting with him. And he said, well, this is how his story went. Several years before this surgery, he was having issues on lots of medication. And he said, man, I'm in a lot of trouble. I need to change my life. So he went into a friend's restaurant, and the friend's restaurant was a vegetarian restaurant, and he shared that same thing. Man, he said, I'm in a mess. I need to change my life. Well, this friend of his who had this restaurant said, well, I'm going to help you. From now on, starting today, I will feed you your lunch and give you a doggy bag to take home for your supper at night. And so he said, okay. He would do that. In 30 days, he lost 25 pounds. And he went back to his doctor, and he told his doctor what he did. And his doctor looked at his blood work, and of course, all the issues he had, all the blood work was dropping back down closer to normal. Not quite there, he said, but they were well on their way. And the doctor said, can't believe it, can't believe it. What he also told his doctor at the same time was, when he began this vegetarian lifestyle diet, he also cut out all his medication. Not many of us would do that, would you? Anybody on Lipitor? And all that other, I have no idea what these medications are, but I'm not on any. But, cut them all out. Would you have the courage to do that? Oh, you guys are probably on any medication anyway. So, but I was amazed. Anyway, when he told the doctor that, doctor couldn't believe it. And so I couldn't understand. Or I should just back up for a second. So he said, I was so excited about this, I opened up a company and was delivering food to vegetarian restaurants. And of course, he said, as my business got busier and busier, I had less time to do meals. I started back to the standard American diet. And he said, I had gained 50 pounds, and I really noticed it one day when I picked up 50 pounds of onions. And he said, that's how much weight I've gained. And he said, at that point, I realized I needed to close this business down and get a regular job that gave me health benefits. I wonder why he didn't go back to his friend and start that journey again. And he didn't. And wound up with 8 bypasses. Wow. Have you folks ever been sick? Anybody ever been sick? How did you feel? Sick. Did you like it? No? I don't think anybody would. But when we eat a standard North American diet, we are setting ourselves up for eventually being chronically sick. Right? For the rest of our life, if we don't change something. One of the things that I really like about the Bible is that it talks about the fact that our bodies are a temple. What do you think of when you think of a temple? Church? Uh-huh. Holy? Clean. Place of worship, sure. Sure. Place of worship, clean, right? No, you're not that your body is a temple that God resides in. And so, if that's the case, then I think I would like to keep it as in good a shape as I possibly can. But I realize that I can't do that all by myself. And so I need lots of help, and I need encouragement from other people. I really appreciate my wife, the fact that she's joined me on this journey, and she practices the same thing that I do, or she reminds me of what I need to do, because sometimes I slip, right? We're all human. We're not perfect. So I'm going to confess to you that sometimes I slip, okay? But it's not all the time. But we stay on this lifestyle in order that we might present ourselves to God in a way that would honor Him. So it's not always just about us. So, if our temple belongs to God, assuming that, all right, who owns it? Oh. Has anybody ever leased a car before? Yeah. Bad. I have. Who owns the car? Who owns the car? The dealer. So, what is it that you have to do when it's a leased car? What are the things that you're responsible for? Pardon me, I'm partially deaf. Take care of it. Why? It doesn't belong to you. My son has a friend who said, when you lease a car or you rent a car, drive it like you stole it. I don't recommend that. Especially when you have to return the lease and it has to be, you got to change the oil, you got to maintain that vehicle, right? Well, that's what I want to talk to you today about. It's about maintaining the vehicle or this body that we have been given. Doctors have now been able to get us to the age of 77 years. We've got enough cures for tuberculosis and chickenpox and all that kind of stuff, right? So medically speaking, they get us there. But they haven't been able to move us any further along for at least the last 10 years. So the average age is approximately 77 years for males, females. So how are we going to get between 77 and 120 and be medication free? There was a lady here last night. I'm sure that she wasn't 29. And I don't think she was 70 either. I think she was a little older than that. She has done cleanses, and the thing that I was really amazed at is that she was straight and tall. And I commented to her about that. And she says, I also lift weights. And I said, really? She says, yeah, I got muscle. So I felt it, man. It was bigger than mine. I was really impressed. And she said, I only take one pill. So folks, this information, like I said last night, will wreck you. Because you now have information that if you don't use it, that you have made a choice to live out your life moving in the direction of degenerative disease and early death. So I hope that you enjoy what's shared here today. Number one, in terms of principles of living well, principles of health. Number one, you need to eat stuff that is low in fat. Not stuff, we know that, but eating low-fat food is good for you. Our body needs three things: carbohydrate, fat, and protein. That's what your body uses to energize itself. But you have to have the right kind, and you don't need a lot of it. Right? Don't be fooled into cutting out all fat. It's an important compound. One of the interesting things that I find is that you can go on different kinds of diets, cut out fat. That's what's going to stop you from gaining weight. So people go on a low-fat diet, right? They lose a whole lot of weight, but as soon as they stop the diet, within a matter of weeks, they have exploded and not only have regained the weight that they had, but have added more to it. Same with carbohydrate diets, all those kinds of things. So it's an important component of a balanced diet, providing essential fatty acids and fat-soluble vitamins. Really important. But do you notice the pictures that I'm showing? Do you see a steak up there? No. It's vegetables, fruit. And it's the type of fat that's important, and it choose foods that provide unsaturated fat. So what? Nuts, seeds, avocados, oil, fish, and vegetable oils. Folks, I just want to say that I am putting that up because that's what people will tell you. Fish, I don't know about you, but after the incident in Japan, a year or so ago, right? Remember the nuclear plants? They had to drain the stuff that was in the plant, the water that's in the tubes. Where did they put that? In the ocean, because there was nowhere else to put it, they said. Now, does it just stay in Japan? That water will circulate all around the world. So I'm not sure that I want to eat fish, to tell you the truth. Steer clear of saturated fats found in animals' produce, such as butter, meat products, pastry, and savory snacks, as a high intake is associated with increased risk of heart disease. Wow. So even though it has fat in it, it's the type of fat that will create degenerative diseases in each one of us if we consume that. How about vitamin A? Here's some vitamins just for your information. Beta-carotene is found in leafy green vegetables, Oranges, fruit, vegetables such as carrots, pumpkin, cantaloupe, apricot, sweet potatoes, and those all convert into vitamin A. Now, vitamin A is found in meat products, folks, directly. But you know that all the ones here that I just mentioned in terms of fruit and green leafies, they aren't vitamin A, but your body turns them into vitamin A, which is just as good. So you don't need to eat the other types of food. The active form of vitamin A, retinol, is in liver, egg yolks, cheese, and fortified dairy products. They recommend an intake of vitamins of 2,333 international units and to an upper of 3,000. All I'm telling you is you don't need to go that route. You can get that vitamin can turn, or those fruits and vegetables can turn into vitamin A and retinol. Vitamin A is best known for its vision function. Remember that? If you eat carrots, you can see better. It also plays a key role in keeping skin, eyes, and mucosal membranes in the nose, mouth, and lungs moist. Night blindness, diarrhea, and dry skin are signs of vitamin A deficiency. So it's good to begin to put vitamins into your body. Remember last night I said when we cook our food, what do we do to it? What? Yeah, you kill all the vitamins and the nutrients that are needed to do exactly this. So going to McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Montana's, Boston Pizza? Is that what it is? Yeah. Decreased resistance to infection and slow bone growth can indicate low levels of vitamin A. So you can appreciate the fact that if we continue to live in a standard North American diet, as we continue to eat foods that are more and more processed and refined, we get less and less of the food we need, and we're heading towards that degenerative disease for us, whatever that might be. How about vitamin D? It's not made in the body. You usually get that vitamin D from the sun. If you don't get it from the sun, you have to find other ways to get it. I take a vitamin D3. I take, for me personally, I take four a day. That's 4,000 international units. You can take it much more than that. And even the upper limits are approximately 10,000 international units. And I'm going to go quickly through this because there's lots of information, so you can read some of that. But it is important. Here in North America, especially in Atlantic Canada, you cannot get enough sunshine any time of the year, even though we have all that wonderful sunshine. Half an hour out in the sunshine is equivalent to 3 days of vitamin D. And we can store it, but it doesn't stay stored for long. So important. And the Linus Pauling Institute recommends that adults take 2,000 international units and as high as 10,000. It's also good for dealing with cancer and preventing cancer. So I take it. Also important for bone development and maintenance, immunity, insulin secretion, and blood pressure regulation. Low levels of vitamin D have been associated with increased risk of cancers, infectious disease, and autoimmune diseases. Excess calcium in the blood slowed mental and physical growth. Decreased appetite, nausea, and vomiting are also associated with all those, with lack of vitamin D. Too much. Sorry about that. Yeah, with too much vitamin D. But you know what? I have never known a person to have too much vitamin D. Have you? It's more the other way around. Vitamin E, really important. It's an antioxidant that protects vitamin A and vitamin C, essential fatty acids, all from being destroyed. One of the interesting things that I can appreciate about that is that if we have high levels in our diet, this is an antioxidant, it may be protective against all these kinds of things, right? Heart disease, cancer. But isn't it interesting? It says there's no benefit from supplements. One of the things that I've learned is that, and scientists cannot study all the different types of vitamins and all the different things that they do. It's just too immense. But what we do know that is when we have a variety of fruits and vegetables at a meal, and what's happening is they have a lot of these things already in them, and our body assimilates them. Somehow they all work together. And people say sometimes, well, what vitamin do I need to really help me? Well, the interesting thing is that to cure any particular problem I have, it's not any one vitamin. It's all of them working together to heal the whole body. Doctors usually kind of give you something to cure the thing that you have wrong with you, right? Well, taking food like this is a total cure for the total body. Does that make sense? Vegetable oils, grains, nuts, seeds, and fortified cereals provide vitamin E. So Lucille and I will probably take oat groats, soak them overnight in dates and almonds, put them through the food processor with a banana, and we have a delicious cereal in the morning. And we can pour almond milk on that, and if we want, we can add some other fruit if we like. We can add some ground flaxseed, which is huge for lots of things, calcium. It's great for fiber, huge. And it's filling, and it lasts us throughout the morning. Vitamin K, really important. One of the challenges I have is that my blood does not coagulate. So if I cut myself shaving or something, I'm always trying to stop the blood, And then, I'm walking down the street and I go like that and it starts to bleed again. I went to my hematologist, and apparently I have some kind of little thing. They don't know whether it's a blood disorder or some platelet thing or not. But if I have surgery, I have to have a blood coagulant called DVADP. And so that's just something I have to be aware of. However, the interesting thing that I found is after I came back from the cleanse and continued doing green smoothies, which have a huge amount of vitamin K in it, all of a sudden, I noticed that when I did cut myself, it didn't bleed very long before it started coagulating and repairing itself. I was quite fascinated. So vitamin K is huge. It's produced by bacteria in the intestine. I didn't know that. Other sources of vitamin K are green vegetables, cruciferous vegetables such as cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, and vegetable oils. Wow. All these things are accessible to you. Things that you buy in the store. One of the interesting things is Lucille and I now go down 2 aisles. The produce section and the organic food section of the superstore, and pick out the things that we need. This is important because this is part of the blood coagulation system. A deficiency of vitamin K manifests as a bleeding disorder, and that's exactly what mine manifested itself as. And due to the risk of bleeding, the Linus Pauling Institute states that American Academy of Pediatrics recommend that all newborns be given an injection of a form of vitamin K. Vitamin K is associated with bone formation and remodeling and cell growth. Wow. So that's the first thing. Number 2, as part of these principles, is create demand for exercise. Anybody exercise already today? I know it's the Sabbath, but I figure I really like body, mind, and spirit, and I think it's important. So I ran. But one of the things that's really interesting is that you do not have to go into a gym and exercise for an hour and a half, sweating and your eyes popping out of your head, Okay? My son is 6'7", 250 pounds. He lifts weights. He's in the military reserves. He's a fitness trainer and looking to get into the police force. So he's a real athletic guy. But I want to tell you, you don't have to do an hour and a half in the morning, an hour and a half at night. 30 minutes twice a day. Here's an interesting thing. My wife Lucille, when we were living in Halifax, had a job, and she would walk from the north end of Halifax across the Angus L. MacDonald Bridge to her office. It was a 45-minute walk one way, and she did it twice a day, there and back. And she did that for 6-7 years. She lost 20 pounds and doing all the exercises she needed. Isn't that phenomenal? So walk briskly for 30 minutes, once a day for sure, twice a day if you want to. Can you walk? No, it's too cold today. I do not like cold. But yes, 30 minutes a day is all you need. What's the aim of exercise? To provide a controlled duration of exercise at the right level and for the right length of time in order to induce a cardiorespiratory training effect. That's what you're doing. You're increasing your heart rate. You know, when all of that's happening, so many things are going on. For example, when you have done that for about 30 minutes, blood is approximately running through your system at a rate of 350 feet per second. And you do that for 30 minutes, I don't know how many thousand times your blood has circulated all through your body, sending the nutrients, the oxygen, everything it needs. Ever look at your fingernails when they're nice and pink, or your toenails when they're nice and pink? That lets you know that you have lots of circulation that's going through your body. It's helping in developing your arteries and your veins so that blood can flow. It's creating great lung capacity. Huge. As you can see right there, the picture of the lungs, air comes into the lungs through the alveoli and into your bloodstream and then is sent to the cells of your body where they need it. And so to improve the capacity and efficiency of the circulation and respiratory system to deliver oxygen to the working muscles and to carry chemical waste products away from at the same time. That's what that does when you exercise. One of the things that they say is that 80% of what we do in terms of health is what we eat. 20% is exercise. And how many people like exercise? It is a discipline, but you can do things that you like. That's important. And one of the books that I've been reading, and it skips my mind, The Metabolic Plan by Stephen Chernesky gives a list of different things that you can do. Walking, going to a gym, and whatever. And walking is at the top of the list. Give yourself, you can walk for 30 minutes, a brisk walk, give yourself 25 points, it says. There is no other exercise that is as cheap or as easy to do. The intensity of exercise increases the demand for oxygen. As your exercise increases, of course, the demand for oxygen increases as well, right? Heart starts beating faster, requiring more air. Oh, I need you all to stand up for a minute. This is important. I want you to hold your hand on your stomach. Some of you may already know this. I sometimes watch people when they're running, and they're always going, right? Because they're only breathing from the upper part of their lungs, right? So when you're breathing through your nose, right, can you feel, if you put your hand on top of your chest, you can feel your chest rise here, right? But now when you put your hand on your tummy, now take 3 breaths in, right? And feel your belly rise. Hard, isn't it? Now blow it. Can you feel your tummy go down? When you are breathing from your belly, you're filling up the lower part of your lungs, and you're getting the full use of your lungs and what they can do. Put your hand on your tummy one more time. And breathe in. You practice that a couple times so that when you can sit down now. When you do that, you're allowing all your lungs to be used, and it's powerful for keeping you healthy. Listen to your body and fast is number 3. So, how do we do that? Well, fasting spares your body from energy it takes to eat and digest food, expending the waste. That is a huge job. So digestion is a huge job which takes tremendous amount of energy to do, which means that all the nutrients that you eat are focusing in on doing that job. So when you fast, what happens is not only do you give your digestive tract a rest, it now puts all of that energy that once was going into digestion into repair and rebuilding of your cells in the body. And also helping in the detoxifying, taking poisons and pulling them out of your system and getting rid of them. So giving your body a break automatically focuses the extra energy on cleansing. And during a fast, your body turns to the liver for an alternative fuel source. So when you have carbohydrates automatically turn into sugar and glucose that's stored in the liver. So what happens is it will burn sugar first before it will burn fat and turn that into energy. So it's using the sugar for energy. When you do a fast, it will take at least 3 days for your liver to burn off the glucose so then it can use the fat to make energy, right? Usually by the 3rd day, these sugars are used up and starts using a stored up fat as its source. It's usually recommended that staying on a juice diet for at least 3 to 5 days in order to make that happen. I hear some people are on a juice fast, right? Some of you are doing that. Have any of you done that? Have you done that? Now let me ask you a question. When you're doing that for the 3 days, first day is not too bad. Second day, it's a little harder. 3rd day, you don't seem to mind. Right? It's not too bad. If you can do 1 and 2, you can do a 3rd day, right? When you start back, what have you on regularly back into a routine of eating again? How do you feel? How do you feel? Do you feel kind of sluggish? No. How do you feel? Yeah. I find that I feel lighter. It's just, you feel different in a good way. It's discipline, I know. But just think of what's happening. You're getting rid of toxins in your body, you're cleaning them out of your system, and you're healing your body. You're allowing your body to do the work it needs to do. So how do you start a juice fast? It's done by drinking only fresh juices. Juice for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And in between, you can drink water, distilled water or reverse osmosis water. I recommend that probably try not to do the tap water. It's got fluoride and chlorine in it. But use a Brita filter. One of the things that I appreciated about Rudy and Jeannie, and I always try to say this to myself too, do the best you can with what you got. All you can do is all you can do, and all you can do is enough. So do what you need to do. Typically, no solid food or smoothies are eaten to allow your body the energy and time to cleanse out the toxins. Remember last night we talked about all the preservatives, the food coloring, all of that kind of stuff, the sugars, the chemicals that you buy off the store shelves? They have to preserve that thing to give them long life. So that's all going into our system, overloading your liver, which purifies all that. And, the liver just gets tired out. It needs a rest. So it can re-energize and renew itself so it can do its job. So what are some of the common detox side effects? How about this? Runny nose, headaches, fatigue, achy joints, mucus, muscles are sore. Let me tell you this. When we went to the cleanse 3 years ago, Lucille came along with me, and for 5 days, she was wearing 2 layers of clothes and a blanket over her. She felt cold, achy, felt like she had the flu. Rudy and Jeannie said, "You're okay." When we came home from our cleanse, our daughter moved home. Anybody have their children come back home again? Yeah. So Hannah decided to eat the same way we did. Within 24 hours, she started breaking out in hives. And you know what she said? I better go to the doctor and get some kind of cream. Lucille and I said, it's okay. And 2 days later, it was gone. Immediately, she had the worst headache she ever had. But we said, it's okay. She cried, it hurt so bad. 24 hours later, it was gone. So I just want to tell you that side effects can be pretty rough. I've talked to people say, oh, I started on a cleanse, but it made me feel sick. That's exactly what's going to happen because you've got poison in your system. What happens when some addicts come off of the drugs? What happens to them? Withdrawals, right? They're shaking and the sweat's coming. It's miserable, right? They're in agony, right? But that is what you need to do to get through to the other side. It may not be that severe, but I do want to tell you, you're okay. You're okay. How much juice do I need to drink? About 4 glasses a day, 16-ounce glasses. And that's what I found. And if you need, but let your body tell you. I don't know. You may need 6 glasses. I don't know. It all depends who you are. Sometimes I take about 5. But it is amazing that when you drink the juice, you feel satisfied. And then as you drink water in between, it's great flushing out of your system. How long do you do a cleanse? Heck, I don't know. 4 days, 7 days. They talk here as many as 100 days. But there is a video out on the internet called Fat, Sick, and Almost Dead. You got to watch it. It is really good. Australian businessman had an autoimmune deficiency problem for 9 years, was on medication. He was just miserable. So he decided he liked New York City, so he went to New York City, and there he started a juice diet for 60 days. Spent 31 days in New York talking to people, making his juices out of a truck or a van or SUV he had, and basically witnessing to people and inviting them to do the same thing. One lady in New York took up the challenge, and they followed her throughout this documentary. After the 31 days in New York, he drove across the U.S. to California. On his way, he stopped in Arizona, met a truck driver who had the exact same autoimmune deficiency as this guy had. This truck driver must have been 450 pounds. Anyway, the guy gave him a drink of the juice and said, look, this is what I'm doing. What do you think? The guy said, oh, that's pretty good. He said, if you ever need to change your lifestyle, here's my phone number. He gets back to Australia after doing this trip, totally cured of his autoimmune problem, off all the drugs and medication, lost a bunch of weight, has never felt better in his life. Gets a call from this truck driver he met in Arizona. Could you help me? Flies back, spends 10 days with him, sets him up, and this guy for 60 days does the juicing. Totally changes his life. They follow him the rest of the documentary. He loses well over 200 pounds. His brother has a heart attack. He gets him on it too. It was incredible. But juicing is phenomenal. And that guy did it for 60 days. So it's possible. So, am I missing important nutrients? Absolutely not. You get all the nutrients you need as you juice. And you are satisfied, believe me. We've done it in our home ourselves. The only thing with juicing, though, is that you're not going to be ended up going to the gym for an hour and a half or running or things like that. And as it says here, when you're juicing, you're probably getting more nutrients than when you are if you weren't juicing. So what are the benefits of fasting? Reduced challenges with arthritis and joint pain. Asthma's reduced. ADD, do you know what that is? I had a secretary in my church who thought I had ADD, and she said, "Not taking your Ritalin today?" I don't know. Blood sugar, hypo and hyperglycemia can be taken care of. Candida. Anybody know what candida is? It's a sugar or a yeast in your system, right? It can have quite an effect on you. Can have affect asthma and things like that. Chronic fatigue. Anybody hear of anybody who's got chronic fatigue? I've heard of somebody. Constipation, diarrhea, gastrointestinal problems like Crohn's. Interesting. I have a gentleman. We just bought a home in Cantville. So I had to have some work done. This insulation guy comes in, hears me playing Christian music, and turns out he's a Christian too. And so I start sharing with him my story about my cancer and health. Well, now this guy is juicing. Guess what his son has? Crohn's. They bought a Vitamix, which is a super duper blender, man. It chips wood, it does everything, right? Anyway, he gave his son the juicer. Guess what? He told me the other day. His son went off his medication. Feels great. Like, go figure, eh? Go figure. How about this for women? Breast cysts, fibromyalgia, headaches, heavy metal poisoning. Isn't it wonderful when you can actually start detoxifying, you're pulling metals out of your system? Here's an interesting thing. After I came back home from the cleanse and decided not to take the surgery, I went back to my doctor, and that was just, remember when H1N1 became just such a, everybody was afraid, everybody had to have the H1N1, right? So I'm at my doctor's office, and she said, since you have cancer, you are entitled to have first go. I said, no, thank you. But see, I said, I had done my research before, right? So I had gone to the World Health Organization, and I also had gone to a couple other websites. Thimerosal is the ingredient that is in H1N1. Do you know what thimerosal, now I can't say it. Thank you. Do you know what that is? Mercury. Because it's the thing that helps get that injection into your body as quickly as possible. Guess where mercury ends up lodging itself? Huh? In your teeth? No. In your brain, in your muscles, in your major organs. And then what happens is when you start losing weight, right, it gets dumped out of your system into your bloodstream. And you get sick. So, interesting, eh? So the benefits of fasting are helping pull out those toxins out of your system. Reducing high blood pressure, nausea, obesity, PMS, and menopause for men. Prostate problems, huge. Vision problems, skin problems, etc. One of the things I want to pass on to you that's really important, I see a number of people who are young here. In the Second World War, the doctors would do autopsies on young soldiers, 24 years of age, healthy guys who had been killed in action. What they discovered was they already had major coronary heart disease. But the interesting thing is, we have been created incredibly well by God, and we can go years with that in our system before it actually affects us. So I just think that's really important, that you understand that even as young people, you are already beginning to experience some of those effects of what you eat and how important it is now to change. Lung and breathing issues also are improved. So, how about this one? Avoid stimulants. Stimulants are a class of psychoactive drugs that increase activity in the brain, right? And these drugs can temporarily elevate alertness, mood, and awareness. While some stimulant drugs are legal and widely used, all can be addicting. Back in Halifax, as you celebrate the new year down on Parade Square, there's a big concert, CTV hosts and all that. If you turn on television New Year's Eve, you can see it. Well, Lucille and I were down there this one particular evening, and this guy was totally jacked up, man. He was just like this. But he said he had drank 4 Red Bulls. Wow. Huge. So, stimulants, what might they be? Caffeine, nicotine, cocaine, amphetamines, and prescription drugs. Caffeine, the most widely used psychoactive drug in the world. It is the drug of choice for North Americans, I would say. Just go into any Starbucks, Second Cup, Tim Hortons, and there is a huge sale of coffee. And it's found in all these coffee, tea, chocolate, candy, and soft drinks. Right? Positive effects, it increases energy and mental awareness, right? How many people have ever had that and experienced that alertness, but have also crashed? None of you, right? Negative effects, heavy use produces anxiety and insomnia. I was just talking to the police chief in Kentville. He said, I can only have 2 coffee in the morning. If I have any after noontime, I cannot sleep that night. Caffeine, physically addictive side effects, headaches, fatigue, irritability. Remember my daughter? She's a heavy coffee drinker. She had severe headaches as part of that withdrawal. How about nicotine? It's one of the 3 most widely used psychoactive drugs in the world, and despite the fact that there are few, if any, medical uses for the drug, during the early to mid-20th century, smoking was considered fashionable. 29% of the U.S. population over the age of 12 use nicotine. Wow. Despite the fact that we're supposedly, you look at the cigarette packets, this can cause cancer, still widely used. Nicotine is as addictive as heroin and cocaine, crack cocaine. Wow. One of the interesting things, I was at a breakfast the other morning at a church, and the chief of police was there, and he's really keen. He was on W5, if anybody saw the show, and he was speaking about addiction and the problems. And he was just saying how the place to get your drugs of choice is at the pharmacy or at the pharmacies, right? Because now people are being given drugs for chronic pain. And he says, how do you manage that? Right? How do you tell, especially if somebody comes in and have back pain, how do you diagnose that? And so those people are getting not just a few pills, but they're getting them to last them for 30 days, and they get refills. And what's happening is they're selling them. So can you just imagine if that, just as coffee and all that is just as addictive, if some of those things, huge. And then, of course, there's prescription stimulants, things that help people with ADHD and other health issues, just to name a few. You may know some of them: Ritalin, Adderall, and Dexedrine. So that's what they can do. Increase blood pressure, respiratory functions, and euphoria. So how about going natural as a number 5 principle? Air. We need fresh air. That's one of the things. Remember I was showing you how to breathe? Air in your system just does so many great things. It's vital to life. It helps us regain and retain our health. And that's what we all want to do. And not only that, I think that as we start doing this, you actually get younger. Do you know what people say to me? Brian, I don't know what you're doing, but keep it up. I had one lady this summer come up to me because she hadn't seen me for a long time. She said, "Are you all right?" And I said, "Well, yeah." "Are you sure?" I said, "Yeah, I am. I feel great." "Okay," she said, "but you're awful thin." So, what kind of cell is that? Does anybody know? That's a blood cell, absolutely, right? The blood is made up of cells, right? Which are then made up of tissues, which make up our organs, right? And every function carried on by the body is directly related to the life of the cell. The cell needs oxygen to survive. So, cells need 4 things. They need oxygen, that's their lifeline. If they don't have it, they die within 3 minutes. They need water. Without it, the cell dies in a few days. Nutrition, without nutrients, they die in a few weeks. And they need to be cleansed. So in other words, you know what happens if your bowels back up, you get sick. If you can't figure it out, my father-in-law, he had a problem with his digestive system. It backed up, he turned septic, and he died. So, how important it is that we keep our cells clean. Oxygen, one of the chemicals essential for the cell to create energy. Wow. It takes those that with oxygen you're burning, you're creating energy, because you're burning, you're going to have carbon dioxide, you're going to have waste that's formed and must be removed to ensure that the cell's healthy. The benefits that are received from having a constant supply of pure, fresh air are these. Here we go. Fresh air purifies the blood. That's why it's so bright in color. What else? Air soothes the nerves and stimulates the appetite and helps digestion and induces sound, refreshing sleep. One of the interesting things that we find with children today and with lots of people, especially men, and you guys don't do this, right? Television, got the channel changer, drives women crazy, right? Or the video games, right? They're finding really very difficult to get children to be active, and we're realizing how important that is, not just for dealing with obesity, but also for the fact that we need to exercise. Oxygen electrifies the whole system and causes the body to be strong and healthy. And air invigorates the vital organs. Huge. Huge. How about this? Pure air brings life to the skin. As for lack of air, the skin nearly dies. And do you know that your skin is your largest organ in the body? But most important, air has a decided influence on the mind. And when we have that oxygen there, we're able to think clearer. We have a degree of composure and peace and serenity. Wow. And 7, some specific problems that are greatly benefited by having an abundance of fresh air are fevers, colds, and lung diseases. Wow. How about this? Dental hygiene. I know we're running almost to the end, but here it is. Dental hygiene, really important. Oral health is not only important to your appearance and sense of well-being, but also for your overall health. You can go to the dentist and they can check you out and they can tell whether you have cancer just by looking at your teeth. And of course, when we have cavity and gum disease, that's affecting all other parts of our body in some way, shape, or form. All right, diabetes and respiratory diseases as a result of our dental hygiene. Wow, cavities can lead to serious infections, even death, folks. Studies are currently examining possible links to heart disease between poor oral health and women delivering preterm babies as well. Wow. Probably one of the most important ones, too, is you got to stay hydrated. Do you know that the average body needs to have at least 2 or 3 liters of water a day just to hydrate itself? We use over 40 liters a day to run this body. At least 2 to 3 liters are evaporated. And so basically what's happening is if we don't replenish that body, we become dehydrated, and it affects so many areas. 75% of North Americans are dehydrated. And to rehydrate yourself, you need to at least have 3 liters of water every day for at least 3 weeks. Interesting. So, I'm just going to pass through some of these things. One of the important things to know is that you need half your body weight in fluid. So if you weigh 140 pounds, you need at least 70 ounces of water. Is that right? For myself, I'm 141 pounds, I need at least 8 10-ounce glasses of water, approximately, because I exercise as well. So that's important. You need to get into a routine of drinking water. How many people like drinking water? Good for you. Some people just can't stand it. And do you chug-a-lug it down, or do you sip it? Sip is what you need to do. And you do it throughout the day. One of the important things I want to tell you, though, is do not drink during your meals. Right? That reduces the ability of your food to be absorbed into your system, right? Or digested. So a half hour before you're going to have a meal, stop drinking fluids. Wait a whole hour after your meal to an hour and a half before you start drinking again. So that's important. I see so many people have a tea or a coffee or a juice or something with their meal. Your body creates at least 2 liters of saliva a day. Believe me, when you chew your food well, you have enough to swallow your food. Just some of these things are the things I'm just talking to you about anyway. Just make sure that you carry water with you all the time. If you're experiencing any of the following symptoms, you may be dehydrated. Mild dehydration, dry lips and mouth, flushed skin, fatigue, and the body is able to reserve, I thought it was interesting, are able to reserve nutrients, but it cannot reserve water. Once you're depleted of water, your body cannot replenish it. You need to have a source to resupply yourself with. And 75% of North Americans, I already told you, are dehydrated. 37% of North Americans, the thirst mechanism is so weak that it is often mistaken as hunger. Do you know that sometimes at nighttime, we should not be eating after 6 o'clock at night, but if you feel hungry at night, what do you usually want to do? You drink water? Food. Most people will go for food. Instead, why don't you have a sip of water and see what happens? Because what happens is your body rebuilds itself when you're sleeping at night, but if your tummy is full with food when you go to bed at 10 o'clock at night, it's spending the night using energy to digest that food. And it does it better when you're standing up. It takes a little bit longer when you're laying down. Isn't it interesting? Mild dehydration will slow down one's metabolism as much as 3%. What does metabolism do? It's the burning thing, right? It's the thing that you've got metabolism is what helps burn calories and all those kinds of things. Helps your body work. 1 glass of water shuts down midnight hunger pains for almost 100% of the dieters studied at the University of Washington when they did that study. So, lack of water is the number 1 trigger of daytime fatigue. Anybody get tired during the day? Yeah, me, yeah. Yeah, especially right after lunch, you go back to work, or we go to conferences, or you hear somebody talking at 3 o'clock this afternoon, and what do you want to do? Right? Preliminary research indicates that 8 to 10 glasses of water a day could significantly ease back and joint pain for up to 80% of the sufferers. Isn't that interesting? I hear so many people talk about arthritis and joint pain and things like that, and I always ask them, how much water are you drinking? But the interesting thing is, I have a mother who's 82 years old, and she has these complaints about things. I said, Mom, do you want to drink water? Oh, I don't want to do that. I'm 82 years old. She said, I'm not that much longer for this world, so I don't want to change. I don't know about you, but I just don't like pain. 2% drop in body water can trigger fuzzy short-term memory. Anybody have trouble memorizing? Right? Do you ever, yeah, you got sort of fuzzy memory? I was talking to a friend of mine who just had, she's a counselor for people like psychologists, and she was having brain fog, tired, and all that. Guess what? She went to her doctor, off of sugar, drinking more water, and she said she was amazed when she started cutting back on those things. The fog cleared away. So, think about it. This is the thing that I think is most important today. pH. What is pH? This is what it is. Potential for hydrogen. 0 to 6.9, your body is acidic. 7.0 to 14, that is alkaline. Essentially, every function of the body is dependent on our bodies maintaining a precisely balanced pH in the blood and other critical body systems. So, here it is, folks. When we look up here on the board, the further we get away from alkaline to acidic, it takes that much longer to get us back to where we need to be. It becomes an exponential challenge for us. So, if you're at 6, it's only 10 times. However, when you reach 5, it's going to take 100 times more the energy to get you back to an alkaline state. Anything below 5.6, you're in the area of where cancer grows. So let me ask you a question. Where should you be? Closer to 7 or closer to 5? Closer to 7, right? If you go to, I think, a drugstore, you can buy pH paper. Before you get up in the morning, take a piece, before you put your feet on the floor, take a piece of the pH paper and put it on your tongue, get the saliva, and test the color. Then go and check your urine. Do that for 3 days and then average it out. That'll tell you where you are and where you need to be. So, here's another picture. Soda, Coca-Cola, is at 2. Soft drinks, 3. Bottled water, 4. Severe chronic disease and cancer is at 5. Chronic disease develops between 5 and 6. So it's really important that you find ways and means to reach that pH of 7. Your blood has to stay at a state of 7.35 to 7.45. If it goes below that or above that, you die. So the body has been so created that it will do whatever it needs to do to keep your blood at that pH level. So if you're drinking, like I said, 1 can of Coke, right? You will, to basically reduce that acidity in your body, it will take 32 8-ounce glasses of water. How many of you are going to drink that much water? So your body will suck it out of your bones, all of your tissues, in order to maintain that pH balance. And if you're not getting any more, moving that pH up, then you're living in an acidic state, and you are prone to degenerative diseases. So just something to think about as you think of your health and the food that you eat. And so it's important that you maintain a perfect pH balance. I'm just going to move on. Notice here, saliva is 6.0 to 7.0. Your stomach acidity should be 1.0 to 3.5. Pancreas. Notice the alkaline state of your pancreas, 8.0 to 8.3. Intestines. Isn't that interesting? Do you notice how close they all are to a pH balance? There's only a few places that they're lower. Why the stomach? Because it's a hydrochloric acid, right, that helps to break down food. So, if you really want to be healthy, you must keep your body alkaline. So here are some of the alkalizing foods. Sprouts, vegetables, greens, nuts, all of those kinds of things. That's what helps you. So, These are some other things that we take as well. So, the results of being too alkaline are these. You can have bloating, water retention, acne, and other skin conditions, weak hair or nails. All of those if you have too much. That's why everything is about balance, folks. You have to stay balanced. There's some others. Irritability, cramps, indigestion. And then number 9, get the right amount of sleep. Here's what the Harvest Women's Health Watch suggests. 6 reasons to get enough sleep. Learning and memory. Sleep helps the brain commit new information to memory. When we're so tired, we can't do that. How about this? Metabolism and weight. Chronic sleep deprivation may cause weight gain by affecting the way our bodies process and store carbohydrates and by altering levels of hormones that affect our appetite. Whoops. I thought you'd like that one, students especially. Sleep debt contributes to a greater tendency to fall asleep during the daytime, and these lapses may cause falls and mistakes. I often wonder sometimes about accidents on the road. I noticed a documentary one time where they took people who had alcohol, they did assess people with alcohol over 0.08, and people who had sleep deprivation. Guess what? They both were making the same mistakes. Both were having accidents. So, mood, sleep loss may result in irritability, impatience, inability to concentrate, and moodiness. So, too little sleep can leave you also tired to do the things that you like to do. And also can affect your health, cardiovascular, and a host of others. Disease, sleep deprivation alters immune function, including the activity of the body's killer cells. And keeping up with sleep may also help fight cancer. Wow. I was just talking with Julie. Is Julie here? Yeah, hi, Julie. One of the things that Julie said that she always had a problem with, can I share this? Is it okay to share? Is that she had difficulty sleeping, but now she's taking a supplement, or herbs or whatever, and she sleeps really well, even through Bob's snoring, believe it or not. So, but she's going to bed 10, 11 o'clock at night and sleeping till 6 o'clock in the morning. That's, your body heals when it's sleeping. Wow. You want to minimize sugar, of course. And of course, what do we usually consume about 150 to 160 pounds of sugar a year. Hard to believe, isn't it? Wow. And so excessive sugar has been linked to what? Diabetes, obesity, elevated triglycerides, tooth decay, heart disease. We've already shared about Coke, so I won't go into that, but it affects your immune system. We said immune system is what?